The landing. The sky above Earth was calm and clear, but that tranquility would soon shatter. A sudden flash of light lit up the heavens as massive ships appeared from nowhere, descending slowly from the atmosphere. They were sleek, silver, and unlike anything humanity had ever seen before. The ships hovered silently, casting shadows over the landscape below. The aliens had arrived. On board these ships, the aliens were confident. They had studied Earth for years, analyzed every piece of information they could gather. They believed that the humans here were no different from the other weak species they had conquered in the past. Their technology, while impressive, was far behind the aliens. Their armies were large but disorganized. The aliens thought they could quickly overpower them and take control of this planet. As the ships landed on the Earth's surface, the aliens poured out. They wore gleaming armor, their weapons held at the ready. They were prepared for anything, or so they thought. The Earth's atmosphere was different from what they were used to, but it was still breathable for them. The first thing they noticed was the strange, dense air. It felt heavier than their homeworlds, but it wasn't enough to stop them. They adjusted their suits and moved forward. The aliens gathered in formation, marching across the land, their eyes scanning the unfamiliar environment. The terrain was unlike anything they had encountered before. Rocky hills, dense forests, and jagged mountains stretched for miles. It looked chaotic to the untrained eye. But the aliens knew better. They had conquered planets with difficult landscapes before. They believed their advanced equipment could easily navigate the rough ground. The only thing they hadn't accounted for was the Earth itself. As they moved deeper into the landscape, the first signs of danger began to appear. Small creatures with glowing eyes darted through the underbrush, vanishing before the aliens could react. The aliens shrugged off the strange sightings, dismissing them as simple animals. But their overconfidence was beginning to show. It wasn't long before the first attack came. A sudden, fierce roar echoed through the air. Before they could respond, a creature lunged at them, moving faster than anything they had ever seen. It was massive, with long claws and sharp teeth, its skin a mix of earthy browns and greens, blending perfectly with the surroundings. The alien soldiers raised their weapons, but it was too late. The creature tore through their ranks, knocking down 2 soldiers with a single swipe of its massive paw. The aliens opened fire, but the creature moved with incredible speed, dodging their attacks. It was clear that this was no ordinary animal. It had adapted to its environment in ways the aliens couldn't comprehend. They tried to retreat, but the creature was relentless. It was fast, powerful, and determined. The aliens quickly realized that their technology, while powerful, was no match for the creatures of Earth. They had underestimated the planet. This wasn't just a world of simple animals and unrefined humans. Earth was a place where survival was a constant struggle, where every living thing had adapted to the harsh conditions of the world. The aliens were learning the hard way that Earth was not a planet to be taken lightly. Another roar sounded, this time closer. The aliens looked around, but the creature had disappeared into the thick forest once more. They hadn't won this battle, but they had survived. For now, they looked at each other in confusion. The leader of the alien group, a tall, imposing figure with glowing blue eyes, raised a hand, signaling for the group to halt. "We didn't come here to fight animals," he said, his voice deep and steady. "We're here for the humans. They are our real enemy." The others nodded in agreement, though their confidence had started to waver. They had been prepared for many things, but they hadn't expected this. They hadn't expected Earth to fight back in such a way. "Stay alert," the leader ordered. "We move forward. The humans will not stand in our way. We are superior to them." They resumed their march, but their steps were slower now. The unexpected encounter with the creature had shaken them. They could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. Earth was no ordinary world, and the more they explored, the more they realized how much they had underestimated it. As they reached a clearing, they paused once more. The air was thick with tension. The vast forest stretched out before them, seemingly endless. The leader looked around, his eyes scanning every corner. He could sense something, an energy, a presence, something that made him uneasy. "That's enough for today," he said, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "We'll set up camp here for the night. Tomorrow, we'll find the humans." The others nodded, but their unease was evident. The planet they had hoped to conquer now felt like a place filled with threats they couldn't control. They were on a foreign world, and every corner seemed to hide a new danger. And yet, they hadn't even encountered the true challenge yet: the humans, the Deathworlders. As the night fell and the stars began to twinkle overhead, the aliens huddled together, their once confident demeanor slipping away. The strange creatures and deadly environment were just the beginning. Tomorrow would bring the real test, meeting the humans of Earth, who were far more dangerous than anything the aliens could have imagined. They had come to Earth thinking they could easily conquer it, but already they were starting to realize that they were in over their heads. They were far from ready for what lay ahead. The night was silent, the stars twinkling overhead like distant diamonds. The alien camp was quiet, too, save for the occasional sound of soldiers moving or the rustling of their equipment. They had established a perimeter, though they knew the creatures of Earth were more than capable of breaking through. The strange beasts they had encountered earlier were only the beginning. By morning, the aliens were restless. The sun hadn't fully risen, but the skies had already begun to brighten. They could feel the weight of their situation growing. The planet had been far more hostile than expected, and their confidence from the night before was already beginning to crumble. The alien leader stood near the edge of the camp, scanning the surrounding area. His glowing blue eyes cut through the darkness as he searched for any sign of movement. The creatures that had attacked them earlier could have been the product of instinct, but something told him that Earth held far worse dangers. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was something far greater lurking just beyond the horizon. "Prepare yourselves," he said gruffly to his team. "Today, we make contact with the humans." The soldiers nodded, though many of them were looking more anxious than ever before. Their armor was still intact, their weapons were ready, but the alien leader could see the unease in their eyes. The humans of Earth were unpredictable. They didn't fight like other species. The aliens had done their homework, yes, but they hadn't accounted for the raw, untamed strength that Earth's creatures, human and otherwise, possessed. Without further delay, the aliens packed up their camp and began moving forward, heading toward a small town they had detected earlier in their scans. The town was remote, but it was large enough to hold some of the human population. It seemed like the perfect place to start their invasion. As they approached the outskirts of the town, the group fell into formation. The aliens spread out, scanning every corner. The humans hadn't noticed them yet, but it wouldn't be long before they did. The soldiers, normally calm and disciplined, were now on edge. Every rustle in the bushes, every shift of wind, made them nervous. This wasn't like anything they had encountered before. Finally, they'd reached the town. It was quiet, eerily so. The buildings were old, and the streets were lined with dirt and dust. There were no signs of human activity, no movement, no sounds. The aliens hesitated at the edge of the town, their confusion growing. "Where are they?" One of the soldiers whispered, his voice filled with uncertainty. "They're here," the leader replied, his voice low but firm. "They're watching us." Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the empty streets. It was a strange, mechanical sound, almost like an engine starting. The aliens immediately raised their weapons, eyes scanning the buildings. The noise grew louder, and before they could react, a massive vehicle roared into view. It was unlike anything the aliens had seen before, clunky, old-fashioned, but somehow menacing. It was an armored military vehicle, perhaps a relic from Earth's past, but it moved with surprising speed. The vehicle stopped just short of the aliens, and a small group of humans stepped out. They were dressed in strange, mismatched clothing, their faces dirty but determined. They didn't have the advanced technology the aliens expected, but their eyes were fierce. These were no ordinary humans. "We know you're here," one of the humans said, his voice steady but filled with anger. "You may have your fancy ships and weapons, but this is our world. We don't take kindly to invaders." The alien leader studied the humans carefully. They weren't intimidated by the advanced technology of the alien soldiers, nor by the towering ships that had landed on their planet. They stood their ground, their eyes full of defiance. "We don't need your world," the alien leader said coldly. "We've come to claim it, and you will submit to us." The human who had spoken before stepped forward, his face hard. "We're not scared of you," he said. "You think you're the first ones to try and take Earth. You think we'll just roll over and let you win. You're about to learn a very hard lesson, aliens." The alien soldiers exchanged uncertain glances. There was no fear in the humans' eyes, no sign of weakness. In fact, it almost seemed like the humans were daring them to make a move. The leader's own resolve began to shake, though he quickly suppressed it. This was no time for hesitation. The tension between the two groups was thick, like the air before a storm. The humans had no ships, no advanced weaponry, but they had something more powerful. They had something the aliens hadn't counted on: their will to fight. They would not be defeated easily. The alien leader raised his hand, signaling for his soldiers to stand down. The humans may have been brave, but they didn't understand the power the aliens wielded. It was only a matter of time before the humans broke under pressure. They couldn't possibly survive against an army like theirs. But even as the aliens stood tall, their pride unshaken, they couldn't shake the nagging feeling that they had underestimated the humans. Earth's history was filled with tales of survival, of human ingenuity, of unthinkable strength. The aliens had come to conquer, but they were about to learn that conquering Earth was no easy task. The first blow had been struck. The aliens had arrived expecting an easy fight, but now, the humans were proving that Earth wasn't a planet to be conquered so easily. And what they didn't realize yet was that the real battle, the one that would determine their fate, was just beginning. The aliens stood in silence, their weapons aimed at the humans, who had yet to make any aggressive moves. The human leader's words still echoed in the alien leader's mind. "You're about to learn a very hard lesson." There was something about those words, something in the human's voice that made the alien leader uneasy. They had encountered many species before, civilizations far more advanced than humanity seemed to be. The aliens had faced challenges, some severe, but nothing had prepared them for the kind of resistance the humans were now offering. The humans were not retreating, not trembling with fear as the aliens had expected. Instead, they stood their ground with a quiet strength that was unsettling. "What is it that you want?" the human leader asked again, his voice steady, as though he had all the time in the world. His eyes never left the alien leader. The alien leader's antennae twitched slightly. His species, known for their cold efficiency and tactical brilliance, had never been met with such direct defiance. They had studied humanity, carefully examined Earth's history of war, survival, and technological advancement, but they had missed something. They didn't account for the one thing that made humans different from every other species they had encountered: the will to fight, even in the face of overwhelming odds. "We don't want anything from you," the alien leader replied, his voice filled with an air of finality. "Your world is ours to take. You will submit, or you will perish." The human leader didn't flinch. He glanced back at his comrades. Some were behind the military vehicle, others standing in the streets, waiting for his signal. The alien leader watched them carefully, noting the way they moved, the way they looked at him. They weren't scared. They were preparing for something. Then, just as the silence began to stretch, something happened. The humans moved quickly, far quicker than the aliens had anticipated. In an instant, the human leader made a swift motion, and before the aliens could react, several human soldiers had emerged from hiding, flanking the alien soldiers from both sides. The aliens' advanced technology hadn't been able to pick up the humans' hidden positions. The humans were fast, utilizing the environment around them to their advantage. They had known the aliens would come. They'd been prepared for this moment. The alien leader's eyes narrowed. His soldiers instinctively tightened their grip on their weapons, ready for a fight. He had underestimated the humans. "We've studied your weapons," the human leader said, his voice cutting through the tense air. "We know your weaknesses, and we won't be taken down so easily." The alien leader clenched his fists. His soldiers had never faced such resistance, not in all their years of conquest. The humans had no ships, no advanced technology, but they had knowledge of their enemy. And that was something the aliens hadn't expected. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet began to shake. The alien soldiers paused, momentarily distracted by the rumble. It wasn't an earthquake. No, this was something far more deliberate. Then, just as quickly as it started, the shaking stopped. A strange whirring sound filled the air, growing louder with each passing second. The alien leader turned toward the sound, his antennae twitching nervously. What was happening? What had the humans done? Out of the shadows of the nearby buildings, massive mechanical machines began to emerge, sleek, dark, and with an aura of menace. They were crude in design compared to the aliens' advanced ships, but there was no mistaking the power they exuded. These weren't just vehicles. They were weapons. Huge, armored machines built for combat. The alien leader's mind raced. The humans had mobilized in ways he hadn't expected. These weren't mere vehicles. These were heavy assault machines, designed for one purpose: destruction. The leader looked at the human soldiers again, noting the calm confidence in their movements as they hopped into their machines. Their weapons were large and intimidating, and the soldiers' eyes burned with a fierce determination. "You think these will save you?" the alien leader scoffed, his voice filled with disdain. "You have no idea what we are capable of." The human leader didn't respond right away. Instead, he motioned toward the machines. As they powered up, the ground seemed to vibrate once more. "We don't need to understand you," he said, his voice steady. "We just need to make sure you understand us." With that, the machines lunged forward, their engines roaring to life as they charged at the alien forces. The aliens fired in quick succession, but the humans were faster. They used the terrain to their advantage, darting between the buildings, making themselves difficult targets. The aliens' weapons, though powerful, weren't designed for close-quarters combat like this. The alien leader realized with growing alarm that this wasn't going to be as easy as he had first thought. The humans were unpredictable, calculating and swift, using the very planet they were trying to conquer against him. And though the alien leader had thought they had the upper hand, he was now beginning to see how wrong he was. The battle had begun, and it was clear that the humans weren't going to back down. With every shot they fired, the alien leader's confidence began to slip away. Earth was a world unlike any he had encountered before, and the humans were proving to be an even greater challenge than he could have ever imagined. The aliens were not prepared for this. They had thought they were invincible, that Earth would fall as easily as every other world they had conquered. But the humans, with their stubbornness and sheer will to survive, were showing them just how wrong they were. As the alien forces tried to regroup, the human machines pressed forward, pushing the invaders back. And with each step, the alien leader knew that this fight would not end with an easy victory. The battlefield, once silent and calm, was now a chaotic mess of dust and fire. Explosions rocked the streets as the humans, now fully armed in their makeshift war machines, tore through the alien ranks. The alien forces, highly trained and advanced, had not anticipated this level of resistance. What was supposed to be a simple invasion had turned into a deadly struggle. The alien leader stood at the front of his troops, his thoughts racing. The plan had been so simple: land, strike, and take control of Earth's key locations. But the humans, their fierce will to survive, had turned their home planet into an impossible battleground. The aliens' tactical minds spun. How could they not have anticipated this? As his soldiers tried to regroup, a sudden roar filled the air. The human machines surged forward once again, their heavy guns aimed directly at the aliens. The aliens fired back with all their might, their energy blasts lighting up the skies. But the human machines were fast, too fast for their weapons to track. One of the alien soldiers screamed as a massive blast from a human machine tore through their defenses. The air was thick with the smell of burning metal and smoke, the sky a blur of fire and debris. The alien troops were retreating, not in fear, but in confusion. This wasn't supposed to happen. The alien leader's antennae twitched with frustration. The humans' ability to adapt, their unpredictable fighting style, was unlike anything he had seen. They were relentless, never giving up, always finding new ways to strike back. It was as though they were fighting with everything they had, not just for survival, but for something deeper. "Regroup," the alien leader ordered, his voice sharp, cutting through the chaos. "We cannot afford to let them push us back. We are not here to lose." His soldiers nodded and began to fall back to higher ground, regrouping in a more defensive position. But as they did, the sound of human footsteps grew louder. The human soldiers were everywhere, spreading out, circling them. The human leader stood at the front of the machines, a determined look on his face. His eyes scanned the battlefield, taking in every detail. He could see the aliens were trying to adapt, trying to regroup. But it wasn't going to work. Not now. Not with the machines they had built. The human leader nodded to one of his officers, who then gave a signal to the others. The battle shifted once again. The human soldiers, using their advanced war machines, began to move forward in coordinated strikes, closing in on the alien forces. The humans weren't just fighting to survive. They were fighting for something bigger, something that the aliens hadn't accounted for. As the battle raged on, the alien leader's frustration grew. He had underestimated the humans. He had believed their technology was inferior, that their spirits were weak. But the humans were proving him wrong at every turn. Their tenacity was beyond anything the aliens had ever faced. Then, the alien leader saw something that stopped him cold. One of the human machines, larger than the others, moved into position, its weapons primed. It was massive, towering over the battlefield. Its cannons were aimed directly at the alien command center. If that shot landed, it would destroy everything. The alien leader's heart raced. He had to act. This was the moment. The human's final push. The fate of the battle hung in the balance. He quickly signaled for his most powerful unit to move in, a group of elite warriors trained to deal with powerful threats. As the elite forces advanced, the alien leader's eyes narrowed. He couldn't let this be the end. They had to win. There was no other option. The human machines were powerful, but the aliens had something they didn't. The sheer strength of their forces, their advanced weaponry, and their tactical brilliance would have to be enough to tip the scales. But as the two forces collided, something unexpected happened. One of the human machines, a large, heavily armored one, launched a salvo of rockets at the advancing aliens. The explosion was blinding. For a moment, there was only smoke and debris. When it cleared, the alien forces had been thrown into disarray. The human leader looked over at his soldiers, his expression filled with resolve. "We're not backing down," he said, his voice firm. "We've come too far to lose now." The alien leader watched as the human machines continued to advance, their firepower relentless. This was no longer just a battle for control of Earth. This was a battle for survival, for pride, and for the future. But deep down, the alien leader knew that Earth had become something much more dangerous than they had ever expected. It wasn't just the human machines that posed a threat. It was the human spirit, the determination to fight for their planet, that was truly terrifying. As the battle raged on, the tides of war shifted. The aliens had underestimated the humans, and now they were paying the price. The fight was far from over, But one thing was certain. The aliens had no idea what they had unleashed when they decided to invade Earth. The Deathworlders had only just begun to fight back, and the aliens would soon learn that they had made a grave mistake in underestimating them. The air was thick with the smell of burning metal and dust as the battle for Earth raged on. The aliens had never expected the humans to be this resilient. With every passing minute, the human machines were pushing the alien forces back further and further. Their weapons tore through the alien lines, and their tactics were unpredictable. The human soldiers fought with a fury the aliens could not comprehend. The alien leader, now standing among the wreckage of his fallen soldiers, watched in disbelief. How had this happened? Their forces, so carefully calculated and advanced, were being dismantled by these humans and their crude war machines. The aliens had underestimated Earth, and it was becoming clear that they had made a grave mistake. Regroup. We need to change the plan. The alien leader barked, his voice filled with a mixture of fear and frustration. His troops scrambled to obey, but the humans were closing in, relentless in their assault. The alien commander knew the battle was slipping out of his control. He had expected a swift victory, but now, even with their advanced technology and superior numbers, the aliens were struggling. He had to do something drastic, something that would turn the tide in their favor. He signaled to his remaining forces to fall back. The aliens had their advanced technology, their superior firepower, but it wasn't enough. They needed a new strategy. But as they retreated, the humans were not letting up. From a high vantage point, the human leader watched the alien retreat. His eyes narrowed with determination. The aliens had underestimated Earth's defenders, and now it was time for them to see just how wrong they had been. The humans had only just begun to fight back with everything they had. Prepare for the final push, the human leader ordered. This ends now. With a signal, the human forces surged forward. This wasn't just a counterattack. It was a full-scale assault. The human war machines, large and powerful, advanced with overwhelming force. Every movement was calculated, every shot fired with precision. The alien leader's heart raced. He could see it in the eyes of his troops. The fear was spreading. His soldiers had fought on countless worlds, but nothing compared to this. These humans, these Deathworlders, had the will to fight, the courage to stand against any odds. The aliens were making one last stand near a massive alien ship, which had been their command center. But even as they tried to regroup, the human machines were closing in, their guns aimed directly at the alien stronghold. One of the human commanders, a veteran soldier who had fought on multiple fronts, looked at his team. "We have one shot at this," he said. "We break their lines, and we win. There's no turning back." The soldiers nodded. They knew what was at stake. Earth was their home, and they weren't going to let it fall. Not to anyone. The alien leader, now desperate, called for his elite forces to protect the command center. The last hope of the alien invasion rested on the success of their final line of defense. He knew this was their last chance. If they failed here, they would lose everything. The two forces collided once more, and the Earth shook with the impact. The human machines tore through the alien defenses, their firepower unmatched. Explosions rang out, and the sky was filled with the roar of battle. The human war machines were everywhere, overwhelming the alien forces with their sheer numbers and force. The alien leader watched in horror as his command center was attacked. He knew he had no more tricks left to play. The humans had adapted, they had fought smarter, and now they were about to win. Suddenly, the alien leader felt something inside him snap. They had failed. They had underestimated Earth, underestimated the human spirit, and now they were paying the price. The humans had done the impossible. They had turned the tide of battle in their favor. The alien commander turned and saw the human leader standing at the front of the battle line. The human was no longer just a soldier. He was a symbol of everything the aliens had overlooked. Humanity's refusal to yield. With a final roar, the human leader charged forward. leading his forces directly into the heart of the alien command center. The aliens scrambled to fight back, but it was too late. The human machines had already broken their defenses. The alien leader could only watch as his forces were overwhelmed. His hopes of conquest, of subjugating Earth, were slipping away with every passing moment. And then, with a blinding explosion, the alien command center was destroyed. The humans had won. It wasn't just a victory of firepower. It was a victory of spirit, of resilience, and of the will to fight for one's home. The alien forces, broken and scattered, began their retreat, leaving behind a planet that would not be conquered. As the dust settled, the human leader stood tall among the wreckage. He had led his people to victory, not through overwhelming force alone, but through their determination and the strength of their hearts. Earth had proven its worth, and the aliens would never forget the lesson they had learned. Never underestimate the Deathworlders. As the alien forces retreated into the vastness of space, the human survivors stood in silence, surveying the devastation. The battle was over, but the cost of victory weighed heavily on their shoulders. The skies were still filled with smoke, and the ground beneath their feet trembled from the force of the explosions. The Earth was scared, but humanity had emerged victorious. The human leader, Commander James, stood at the front of the gathering. His face, usually calm and composed, was now etched with fatigue. He looked out at the horizon where the alien ships were retreating. For a moment, there was no sound, just the hum of the wind and the distant roar of the last alien ships disappearing into the stars. "Commander," said one of his officers, stepping up to his side, "we did it. We won." James didn't respond immediately. He had always been a man of few words, but now, the weight of everything that had happened seemed to hang over him. His thoughts were scattered, torn between the victory they had earned and the lives lost along the way. The damage to Earth was immense, and the scars left by the war would take years, perhaps decades, to heal. "Yes, we did," he finally said, his voice steady. "But this is only the beginning. The aliens won't forget what happened here." His officer nodded, a grim expression on his face. "Do you think they'll return?" James didn't answer right away. It was clear that the aliens had underestimated Earth. They had thought humanity would crumble under the weight of their advanced technology and superior numbers. But they had been wrong. Earth had fought back, and now the galaxy knew that humanity would not go down without a fight. "I don't know," James said, "but we'll be ready. We won't let them make the same mistake twice." As the humans celebrated their hard-fought victory, the alien leader, far from Earth, paced in his command ship, his mind racing. His forces had failed, and his pride had been shattered. Never before had the aliens encountered such fierce resistance. Deathworlders were supposed to be primitive, weak beings, easy to crush beneath their boots. But the humans had defied every expectation, every calculation the aliens had made. "We'll return," the alien leader muttered to himself. "They will regret underestimating us. We will rebuild and come back stronger." But deep down, he knew that something fundamental had shifted. The humans had shown that they could stand against an empire that had crushed civilizations across the galaxy. The loss on Earth had been a blow, not just to their military forces, but to their pride. The Deathworlders had proven themselves to be far more than the aliens had ever imagined. Back on Earth, the victory celebrations were in full swing. People from all walks of life came together, relieved that the threat had passed. The cities were beginning to recover, and the human spirit, unbroken, was ready to rebuild. Commander James stood among his people, watching as they celebrated. There were no grand speeches, no parades. They had survived. That was enough. But James knew that this peace wouldn't last forever. The galaxy was vast, and the aliens who had attacked Earth wouldn't forget what had happened here. They had learned that humanity was not a species to be underestimated. They had learned that Earth was not a world to be conquered. "We must prepare," James said to his closest advisors. "This victory isn't the end of our story. It's only the beginning." And so, as Earth began to heal from the scars of battle, the humans began their preparation for the future. They knew that the galaxy would watch them closely. The aliens had made their mistake once, and they wouldn't make it again. The humans, now united in their determination and strength, stood ready to face whatever challenges the future would bring. The Deathworlders had proven their worth, and the galaxy would never forget the day when they laughed in the face of impossible odds. As Commander James looked up at the stars, he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of pride. Humanity had won. But the true test, the true battle, was yet to come. In the weeks following the victory, Earth began to slowly rebuild. The scars of war still marked the planet, but life had returned to a semblance of normalcy. People worked tirelessly to repair their homes, their cities, and their lives. The destruction had been vast, but the human spirit was resilient, and they pushed forward with determination. However, in the silence of space, a new storm was brewing. The alien forces that had attempted to conquer Earth had retreated, but they had not forgotten their failure. Across the galaxy, in hidden bases and deep space fortresses, their leaders gathered in secret to plan their next move. The humiliation of their defeat still burned, and their pride had been shattered. "We cannot let this stand," the alien general growled, his claws tightening into fists. His cold, calculating eyes flickered with anger as he addressed the Council of Commanders. "These Deathworlders have humiliated us. We must make them pay for this insult." The council murmured in agreement, their faces dark with rage and determination. The defeat on Earth had been a painful blow, but they now realized that their underestimation of humanity had been their greatest mistake. Earth, with its harsh environment and fierce inhabitants, had proven more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. "We will come back," the general continued, his voice filled with authority. "And this time, we will not stop until Earth is nothing more than a memory. We will use every weapon at our disposal. We will use the strongest of our forces, and we will crush them." Back on Earth, Commander James and his team were aware that something was off. The aliens may have retreated, but there was no illusion of peace. The victory celebrations had faded, and now all they had was the quiet hum of daily life. Except there was no sense of security. Something was coming, and they knew it wasn't over. The intelligence reports were clear. Strange signals had been detected from deep space, unusual activity in distant sectors, and rumors of alien fleets gathering again. Earth had won a battle, but the war, it seemed, was far from over. "We need to prepare," James said as he gathered his trusted officers in a war room. "We have no idea what's coming, but we know one thing for sure. They won't forget what happened here." His team nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. The last battle had shown humanity's strength, but the aliens were not going to leave it at that. They would be back, and next time, the assault would be fiercer, better coordinated. The galaxy had underestimated Earth once, but now it was clear that humanity had earned its place among the stars. "We must strengthen our defenses," one of his officers said. "The technology we gained from the battle will help, but we need more. We need to prepare the Deathworlders for what's to come." James's eyes narrowed. "We've only just begun. Humanity and the Deathworlders must stand together. We need to form alliances, create a network of support across the galaxy. Earth is not alone in this, and we will make sure the galaxy knows that." The humans weren't just survivors now. They were a force to be reckoned with. The Deathworlders, those fierce warriors from the most hostile environments in the galaxy, had proven their mettle. But now, Earth had to prove it wasn't just a planet to be conquered. It was a place of power, a hub of strength that would change the course of history. As the preparations began, James looked out across the horizon. The world was recovering, but his mind was focused on the future. He knew that humanity would face unimaginable challenges ahead. The aliens would return, that much was certain. But when they did, they would find something completely different waiting for them. Earth wasn't a world to be taken easily. Humanity had shown the galaxy that it could survive, fight, and win. Now, it was time to show that the Deathworlders had just begun their rise. The alien invaders had underestimated them once. They wouldn't make that mistake again. The stars seemed far away, but in the silence of space, humanity's resolve was louder than ever. They would not surrender. They would not be intimidated. And when the aliens came again, Earth would be ready. "Prepare for the future," Commander James whispered to himself as he turned back to his team. "Because what's coming next will be nothing like they've ever seen before." And so, with a deep breath, the humans and Deathworlders readied themselves for the next chapter of the war. The galaxy was about to find out that Earth wasn't just a world. They were the galaxy's nightmare, and it would be the aliens who would fear what was coming.